Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Birmingham. It's so nice to be here. Thank you, first of all, to City of Sanctuary and Colleen for asking us to come all the way here. We got up 4 in the morning, really enthusiastic to join you guys, so sorry for the tired faces. Yes, we are the Glasgow Girls. I'll start by introducing who I am, and the girls will as well. So my name's Amal. I came to the UK in the year 2000 from Africa. We left Africa because, I should say that we're from Somalia in Africa. It was unsafe for us to be there, so my mom decided that, you know what, it's time to leave. So she said, you know what, we'll just gather whatever we have and we'll leave. And she did that, and unfortunately we didn't have enough money for my father to come with us, so it was just myself and my mother, and she was pregnant with my little sister at that time. So we arrived in the UK, in London, and we were living with friends at that time. But it was getting really crowded, especially when my sister was born. It was really small for us to all stay there. So when my sister Zaina was born, we went to the Home Office and said, look, we can't stay in London, we can't stay in the house we're staying anymore, we need our own place. And then they said, well, we don't house asylum seekers in London anymore, we'd have to disperse you elsewhere. And we thought, okay, that's fine, you know, 10 minutes away, 20 minutes away, it shouldn't be a problem, you know. So of course, one day a massive coach came, and there was different families in the coach, and you know, we were passing. It was almost like a tour of the UK. Went to Manchester, Birmingham, all these places, and families are getting off, but we're not getting off. And I'm thinking, where are they taking us? You know? And I'm like, is our name even on the list? So I went up to the guy and I was like, excuse me, sir, are my family on the list? And they're like, yeah, you're going to Glasgow. And I was like, what? And he's like, Glasgow? And I was like, where is that? And he's like, Scotland? Yeah, mate, where is that as well? You know? And then trust me, it was not funny at that time. So one of the families had overheard this, so they came up to me, they're like, oh, Amal, you're going to Glasgow. I feel sorry for you, mate. Honestly, it's snowing the whole time, everyone's racist, and I thought, right, that's it, we're finished. But of course, I always say this, I wish I could see that family again, because I have to say Glasgow is one of the best places to, you know, in the world. And I'll tell you why later on. So basically, yeah, that's where, in 2001, we arrived in Glasgow. So I'll stop there and give the others a chance to speak.
Well, that's a nice place for me to pick up, because I'm Glaswegian. My name's Emma, I'm from Glasgow. I'm from an area in Glasgow called Drumchapel. You might have read about it in your modern studies textbooks. It's full of poverty, it's a really deprived area. So I suppose like we're on the stage today, like not as like middle-class policymakers or anything. It was a real grassroots movement. It was a real kind of working-class activism. So that's who I am. I'm Emma, I'm from Glasgow.
Hello everyone, I'm Agnesa, and I came here in 2000 in December with my family, and we seek asylum. And now I live in Glasgow, and it's the best place I've ever been. Because if it wasn't for Glasgow, I wouldn't be here. So I'll tell you about the story a bit later on.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful to be here today, and we've seen so many of you, 400 people. It's amazing this summer. I originally come from north of Iraq. I'm Kurdish, and we had a fringe on the Syrian and the refugees. So many asylum seekers and refugees are all over the border, and basically it's not safe. And I came over here in 2002 when the Saddam Hussein regime was on government. So we came here, same story, came to London, and then they drove us to Glasgow, and they said the same thing, it's cold and things like that. But not really, it's alright, you know, it's a very nice community in Glasgow, it's multicultural, you know, Glasgow is very, very multicultural nowadays, and we basically we connected, integrated with the community. Like, I think it was very important for us was like school and education was very important, and that integrated us to society and with other Scottish people like Emma, Jennifer, and we made so many friends, and I think that integration was really great for us. We'll tell about our story because it's 4 of us. Maybe we can start about how the campaign started.
Yeah, sure. So in the year 2005, Agnesa was dawn raided and detained. Now, at that time, we had never, dawn raids were happening, but we never knew about them. And what happened on that day, I think it was March 2005, Agnesa was sleeping in her house with her family, and it was on a Sunday, 7 o'clock in the morning. 14 Home Office officials knocked on her door, handcuffed her father in front of her younger brothers, and put them in 2 vans and drove them to Yaltoa Detention Centre and locked them up for 3 weeks. On that Monday morning, Evelina, I should say, who's also one of the other Glasgow girls, who's not here with us today, she phoned me on that same day and she said, look, Amal, Agnesa's just being dawn raided and detained. And I thought, what does that mean? I don't understand. You know, we were 15 at that time, so we were not aware of the situation. And I remember on the Monday morning, I went to Mr. Garvin, who's our bilingual teacher at that time. I'm sure you'll see a photo, it says the legend, because he is a legend. We went up to him and I said, look, I'm not going to go to any of my classes because I don't understand why a child is being treated like a criminal. She's done nothing wrong. She's done nothing wrong. How cruel is it to treat them like that? You know, there's a reason why asylum seekers leave their countries. They don't leave their countries just like that because of the benefit system or anything like that. Nobody wants to leave their family. Nobody wants to leave the weather, you know, the culture. Nobody wants to leave all of that. You know, you have to be in a very, very desperate situation to do that. And then to come to the UK and everything and to be treated like that is just completely inhumane. And believe it or not, I was a shy girl at school. But when that happened, something in me, the humanity in me, I think, awakened because I could not sit there and do nothing about it. I had received my leave to remain a year before, in 2004, so I didn't really need to do anything. I was safe, if you know what I mean. But I thought, you know what, Agnesa is just like me. She's a child just like me. The only difference is a piece of paper. It's not fair. So I said that to Mr. Garvin, and Mr. Garvin went and got my guidance teacher, and you know, they couldn't do anything about it. And then obviously the rest of the girls, we all came together and we're like, you know what, we don't know what we're going to achieve, but we need to do something. We didn't realize what was going to happen after that, but next thing we knew, my face was on the BBC News and I was in the newspaper. It was really overwhelming, but we just wanted to, you know, get people's attention and say that what's happening is wrong.
I think it's very important, like with our campaign was, we started with petition, and one of the workshops I went to was law and representation. And they also started a petition, which is very important, you know, as a grassroots, and that's how we started our petition and how we locally and with the community, we signed the petition. And I think that it's very important, you know, with individual making changes, and that's our campaign is all about the petition, and it started from there. And then, of course, we went to the BBC and we talked to MPs, social media, anybody we could see. We were talking about the story of our friend is being taken away, and this is unfair to her, and she was only a child, and she needed the same. If I was, because I didn't have my papers at that time, and I was an asylum seeker, you know, I was like, if I was taken away, like, I want my friends to fight for me, you know, I wanted that, so that's why I think we all came together and we fought for Agnesa, and she's back here.
Agnesa's shy. I'll tell you how I got involved in the campaign then. I wasn't like close friends with the girls or anything, but we had a lot of asylum seekers in Drumchapel High School, and slowly over a couple of years, people started to integrate quite naturally. So it's kind of like, oh, did you forget your PE kit? Did you do your homework? And then I kind of forgot that my friends were asylum seekers until this one day when Agnesa was taken away, and I was just so outraged. I just couldn't believe that Agnesa and her wee brothers, who had been here for years with Scottish accents, could just be whipped away and sent back to danger. And so I just couldn't help but get involved and help with this petition. And I suppose Agnesa didn't have a choice to get involved.
She was the reason why we started it.
Well, I think they've said everything. But basically, yes, it happened on a Sunday morning at 4 AM, and my dad just went to open the door. Well, basically, we were all asleep, so somebody was knocking the door, and it was really hard. It's like someone's trying to break in, and we're like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, so my dad went and looked, and all he could see was nothing really, just plain. And then as soon as he opened the door, I swear to God, they all rushed him as if like we were going to run away because we're up in the flat of 17th floor, so they probably thought, you know, we're going to jump off the flat or something. So they went to my dad's room, they went to my brother's room, and then they came to my room, and so there's two ladies, I think, or I can't really remember, but I was asleep. She sat next to me and I turned around and that gave me a fright, so I jumped and I'm like, who are you? And she had bulletproofs and she was all covered, and I'm like, what are you doing here? She's like, I'm sorry, but I need to get you up and get you ready. I'm like, get me up and get me ready where? And then she says, she didn't really explain much of the situation. She just said, look, I need to get you ready, you need to come out, I'll explain to you later, but no, that doesn't happen. They just snatch you off, take you down the stairs, put you in a van and drive down to Yazwood. And it was horrible, horrible, horrible. And it's just, I think, I've heard so many other stories that people have been in detention centres, and I think you should fight for your rights, and I think you should keep going, and you've got a right for everything. If you've not done nothing wrong, don't let them snatch you away.
There's a couple of wonderful old ladies in Glasgow that we should give a mention to, called Jean and Noreen, and they're featured in the musical we'll tell you about in a minute. And what they did is they set up this fantastic system, I don't know if you've heard of it, where they got up at 5 or 6 o'clock every morning, and they used to stand outside Kingsway Flats, and they would look out for vans coming in to snatch people. And they had a record of everyone who lived in the flats, and they would start phoning everyone. So while the immigration officials were going up in the lifts, the families were coming down the stairs. It was fantastic. So that's what Jean and Noreen.
I think, stories like that is why I absolutely love Glasgow. I think one of the biggest thing that came out of the campaign is raising awareness about the issue. I mean, we were supported from every corner, and that's what I think is really special about Glasgow. We were supported by the media, we were supported by the politicians, by our community. Without them, we would not be here today. Without Mr. Garvin or Mr. Blakey, our head teacher at that time, without Noreen and Jean, we wouldn't be here. Everybody, it was like a massive force, that we all, it's about unity, it was about unity, the campaign. And now, it's not a story about 7 schoolgirls anymore. It's much bigger than that. And we never had the intention that, okay, so one day we're going to wake up and, we're going to start this campaign, and we're going to go to the Scottish Parliament and meet the First Minister and have a musical about us and a BBC film about us as well. Of course we didn't. But I think what's come out of it now and what it represents unity, it represents anti-racism, it represents integration, and also that, anybody can achieve anything. If we work together, I mean, what are the chances of 7 schoolgirls from Drumchapel? Actually, if you've seen the BBC drama, the description of us is 7 schoolgirls from Glasgow took on the Home Office and won. That's that.
I think we should say that the Glasgow girls, Amal's right, it's not just about 7 girls anymore, I think it's a movement. I don't know if there's any other Glasgow girls in here today, is there?
Gary in the back. Did you want to say something, Rosa?
I think it's today. Sorry, you can't look there, Mike. So I think today we're here. I think we need to remember, still people get indefinite detention, and still people suffer in inhumanity, and they don't have the basic of human rights. And all of you guys are doing great work here, all from different organizations, and you're all Glasgow girls because you are the root ground, grassroots people doing all the work. And we hope that the Glasgow Girls, the campaign, it's a movement, everyone is a Glasgow girl, and you all are a Glasgow girl, and all have campaigned individually, I'm sure, on something. And I don't know if you want to, is there anything else about that?
Yeah, so where we are now, 10 years later, I feel so old. No disrespect, by the way. So what we're doing now, I graduated with a community development degree in 2011, and then I started working at the Mental Health Foundation, and I work with asylum-seeking and refugee women to raise awareness about mental health and well-being. And then last year I decided to do a master's, so I just completed and passed my master's. But I'm still very much campaigning. I always say that since since we started the campaign, that I'm not going to give up the campaign until I'm satisfied that we have a humane asylum system in the UK. Because I think it is possible, and I think all of you here have that chance to do that. Together we can, honestly, I do believe this, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but we can achieve anything and we can change the world. And I think we can be an inspiration to other countries as well to have a humane system, because I do hear stories about other places, and I know the UK is not perfect, but it's definitely much better than other places that I've heard of. And yes, we do have a long way to go, but again, we are getting there slowly but surely. And yeah, we're still campaigning, we're still going all over the country, speaking at events. We've been with schools. Recently, I love speaking to school kids, they're so beautiful. They're like, oh, but why did your friend get detained? You know, it's just, try telling them home office, but and we also, I'm doing other stuff as well, like being active. I do a lot of stuff for Gaza, and literally me and Rosa just came back from Poland on Tuesday. We went to Auschwitz, in the concentration camp, and we're doing a small project around that as well to raise awareness about what happened, you know, in terms of rising action. But one last thing I would say is that through my work at the Mental Health Foundation, working with the women, I've just been like completely blown away. I thought like our campaign, you know, what we went through was really hard, but hearing their stories, and I'm sure you'll all agree with me, hearing the stories that happen again and again, I genuinely believe that the asylum system here is not fit for purpose, first of all, and second, it is designed to give a person mental health issues if they didn't have one to start with. Taking part in my project has been seeking asylum. This is an extreme case, but she's been seeking asylum for 20 years. Until this day, she doesn't have a leave to remain. You know why? Because the Home Office lost her case. So they don't know what to do. Her 20 years, cannot, you know, do anything with her education. She's been going to part-time college, obviously cannot work, cannot go to university because university want international fees. The irony is unbelievable. But that's what, when I think of her, that's when I know, you know what, the struggle continues. But one day, we will have justice.
I think it's very important that we don't forget that the fault is in immigration policies. You know, like it's the immigration policy that we should always challenge. We should always challenge it. Well, I'll go and tell what I'm actually doing and what I've done. I graduated with law and politics degree at Strathclyde University in Glasgow, and from then I stood for election from my student union as vice president of diversity and advocacy, and I won the election thanks to all the students who voted for me. Very passionate for me. When I started working in the student union, I felt like I had the power, you know, I could change things and I could go see the principal, and the principal was respecting me in a way. And I was like, okay, I can make changes here. And, you know, through my experience as an asylum seeker, there was a lot of barriers faced me as going to higher education, and education was a really barrier for me and many other people. Like, we knew that they had the merit, you know, to go to university, but they didn't have the finance circumstances to support themselves. And I campaigned for, I don't know if you heard of the equal access for asylum seekers and refugees, and I know some of the STAR group are here today, Emily and Emma, and so basically Strathclyde University is the first university to have scholarship provided for asylum seekers, and I think important, and I was hoping that there would be a workshop today on education, but unfortunately I didn't see that, but I hope in the future there will be more education, because education is very important. And Nelson Mandela quote, I always like to quote this, he says, education is the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world, and that is true. And I hope that people, if you are a student, or if you are an organization, I think you should work on this scholarship for asylum seeker, and they can develop it, and also other people can, so asylum seeker can help other asylum seekers in the future. If you want to know about the scholarship scheme, please contact me or Emily from STAR.
That's a hard act to follow. I'm not doing anything as simple. So I'm a radio producer at BBC Radio Scotland now. and I do a lot of like voluntary work in the community, like news stuff. But I do still spend a lot of time travelling around with the Glasgow girls because people are still finding out about our story through the film and the musical. And I think that's been absolutely fantastic because it's kind of put it on a new platform, and hopefully it's going to inspire a new generation of young people to realise that they do have the power to change things, and you know they should really use their voice. Do you want to kind of say what you do?
I'm a healthcare assistant, and yeah, I think the girls spoke as well. I think it's what we achieved is something that came from our hearts, and it will always be. And I think people around here should do this exactly the same. Speak out, go meetings and stuff like that, because it's very, very important. If you want your voice to be heard, then let it be heard. Come on.
Fantastic. We're going to move on into the workshops now.